So for today's episode, I'm working with a whole bunch of different items to create kind of like an Easter vignette. So I'm using this dry clay. So this was actually from a fossils kit that my son had, and where he had to scrape off some dry clay to find a fossil. So I kept this clay because I thought it would be perfect for the concrete effect. Then I've got this guy. So the theme is concrete for today. So then I've got this guy, which I bought at Value Village for $2.99, but I think he's from the dollar store, and he was probably $2 or $3 anyway, brand new, but I didn't see them when I got this, so maybe I overpaid at the thrift store, but that's okay. And I'm going to be, even though I think he's kind of rustic, I want him to look like he's concrete. So hopefully this works out. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. And then I've got an egg that I'm also going to make look kind of concrete and textured, which again will be great for the tray. And then I've got these are the candy carrots from Dollar Tree or Dollarama. They've got candy in there, so I'll dump the candy. And then I'm gonna make a nice little decor piece out of those. So that's it. So these are the materials I'll be using. Now, in addition to that, I'm gonna be using some silver metallic paint, some black acrylic paint, and a silver morning paint. I will be using all of those to try and get the concrete effect. I may, because I like to throw in blue. I might throw that in as well. We'll see. What I do is I kind of get mixing and then I do it. But first, welcome to Vesna TV DIY. I'm Vesna. Thank you so much for joining me today. So I thought I'd start the episode off with mixing the paints because this is the paint that I will be using for all of the three pieces. So I'm using the silver metallic, the other silver color, as well as some black acrylic paint and a little bit of that blue I do wind up using. And I mix enough so that I have enough to cover the pieces and a little bit left over because I'm going to be using it in another project later on this week. So I am mixing it in a cup that I can reuse and actually close so that it doesn't dry out. And again, I'm mixing in that clay, which you could substitute with sand or baking soda, anything kind of that has texture to it. So let's start off with the first DIY. I'm actually going to start off with spray painting the carrots in this satin heirloom white from Rust-Oleum, and I'm actually going to spray paint the bunny in this color as well. And I had to first get rid of the sugar from these carrots because they're actually candies and I just love the shape of them. So I got rid of the sugar, spray painted them in the white, and this is what they look like. So as you can see, I didn't cover them 100% completely. There's still a little bit of the orange showing through. And I did this because I will be applying the concrete and they didn't need to be covered completely. I just didn't want so much of the orange showing through. You can by all means cover them completely, up to you. And then I start applying the concrete. I'm using just a floral foam to stick these on, and I'm using small paintbrushes and I'm putting them on these small paintbrushes and I am going to be painting it. This just makes it a little bit easier to paint, and I'm using the dabber brush from the Dollar Tree. It's like a stenciling brush, and this gives me that effect of a little bit of texture, and I'm just covering it completely in the concrete color that I created. I do like to help them dry with a hair dryer. And once they are dry, you can see they're falling over and they're completely dry. I use a brush to just dry brush some white onto them just to give them a little bit more of a concrete look. And I'm using the Rust-Oleum chalked linen white paint because it is a matte color and it'll get rid of a little bit of the shine from the acrylic paint. And again, when you dry brush, you want to get a little bit of paint on your brush and dab it off on a paper towel and then just apply lightly. And once you get the coverage that you're looking for, let it dry and then I'll show you the next step. So once all of this dried, I'm using some twine as well as a little bits of green from a pick from the Dollar Tree. And I'm cutting them in half. So I cut off a branch and then I cut the little pieces in half from the branch. And I'm using two of them in each of these carrots. And I will be hot gluing them. I'm just kind of testing them out right now to make sure they fit nice. And then I'll be wrapping the top of the carrot with the jute, with the twine, and then I'll be inserting these guys in there, applying a little bit of hot glue on the inside so that way it all kind of sticks together. Now I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing. I'll have you watch a little bit and then I'll show you what they look like when they're done. And so here they are, all finished. They're going to look amazing in my tray. I love this concrete effect. They're not your traditional orange carrots, which I still love. I still love the orange carrots too, but I really think this is beautiful. Let me know what you guys think. And off to the next DIY. This next one is super easy. I got a pack of these 4 large eggs, as I mentioned, from Dollarama, and I will just be making this egg look like it's concrete. I'm just gonna dab it on with that same brush that I was using, the same stencil brush that I was using for the carrots, and I'm gonna let it dry, and then I will dry brush some white on it and just give it a lot of texture, and that's about it. Again, another great addition to my tray, and it looks gorgeous. And I think these ones, if you bought those concrete eggs, sometimes they have them, they're quite expensive. So this is a great alternative. I think it was $2 for the 4 large eggs. And the last DIY or upcycle is this bunny, which again, I'm going to spray paint with that Rust-Oleum antique heirloom paint. And I'm going to cover him a lot, but not like super covered so that he's completely white because again, I want him to look like he's concrete. So this is kind of what that looks like right here. He's been covered, but not, like I said, not completely because I am using now a slightly different brush, but I will switch to the stencil brush again for this guy. And I'm just getting him all in all of the creases and everywhere, covering him up as much as I can before he dries so that I can also dry brush him with the white as well. I don't think I mentioned this before, but because the paint is so thick, you will need to make sure that you give it a good amount of time to dry. So if you need to speed it up, like I did with the hair dryer, you can do that, or whatever you need to do to speed it up, you can do it, but just so you know that it will take a little bit of time to dry. And then again, once it is nice and dry, you can use a more matte paint and just dry brush it all over this cute little bunny and he'll look like he's concrete. I really, really love the way he turned out. So here he is all finished. So here are all the pieces finished. I think they turned out really great. I love the way they look. Let me know which one is your favorite.